Hi, here's May, and in today's video I'll redraw my persona, what you're currently seeing on screen. Fitting to that, I also talk about personas in general, starting off with what kinds of personas you can use, and then moving on to what I changed about mine, and what way it resembles me, and finally I show how I personally use the persona for my videos. In the background you will first see a time-lapse of me drawing my old persona since I still have the recordings, and then the full screen recorded process of drawing the new one. Let's start with what kinds of personas you can use. First, I want to start with 2D personas, where you use 2D images and switch them up. They work a bit similar to sprites in visual novel games, something I'm really interested in currently. I also made a video about how I drew sprites with my OCs for a game, which goes more into that topic. You could either have different drawings with different poses for different emotions. I will also mention some YouTubers that have this kind of persona. So here it is Duchess Celestia, Fiona Polo and Hannah Kui. Then you could also use the same sprite and just change up the expressions and maybe add a hand. And a YouTuber that uses this kind of persona is Love to Draw Manga, and for the OCs I designed, I used a similar approach as well. Then you could also have the sprite separated into parts so you can create different poses and expressions. As an example, I have ABD Illustrates and also my own persona and sprite. For all these three kinds of personas you can pick from different types of view angle. The 3/4 view is probably better for the first and second approach, and the frontal view is especially good for the third approach, since you can make use of the mirroring and have the persona do the same arm gesture but with different sides of the body. And for the first approach, so different poses for different emotions, the angle you draw the persona in can change up as well. If you want to draw a persona and you want to decide what angle you want it to be in, you can do this depending on how you want to use the persona. For commentary-based channels, different sprites for different expressions seem very fitting to me, since like this, the artist's feelings on what they're talking about gets conveyed better. It's also better for holding longer poses. If you have the persona drawing alongside one sprite with just a slight change or even no change can work as well. Especially for intro sequences, the frontal view with the different options works nicely to me, since as I mentioned before, you can individually change up the poses with the mirrored perspective, but then you should make sure the clothes are kinda symmetrical unless you want to draw both sides separately. It also depends on how you separate the layer parts of the character. For this approach you would also probably use more layer switching. And talking about layers brings me to another option, having a VTuber model. I've been interested in them for a bit as well, but for VTubers you'd start off with the frontal perspective drawing most of the time, and you would pay lots of attention to keeping layers separate in a specific way and later rig a model with them. I haven't done this myself, so that is all I'm going to explain here, since I don't know too much about more than that, but there are lots of tutorial videos out there for if you're interested in this. Here it of course is really cool to see the character be more alive, since they are constantly moving a bit. Also, once the model is set up, you can connect it to a recording device and have the model automatically move the mouth, blink and turn the head slightly with some hair movement, which means you may not have to adjust as much as you would have when you're working with images. For having a VTuber model you would have to do lots of adjusting and learning how the whole software and process works beforehand. It's probably the most time consuming if you only have knowledge about drawing, and a bit difficult to learn, but if you're interested, it is really rewarding to do. Now we move on to why I wanted to change my persona and what changes I made. I first drew my original persona 8 months ago for a Designing Modern Genshin Impact characters video. I also drew my own persona drawing, but I decided not to redraw this because I noticed that for drawing process videos, especially when I have fully screen recorded time lapses, I wouldn't use this drawing persona since it covers up some parts of the screen. However, when I'm showing time lapses, which most of the time don't fill the whole screen, I could still use it, so you can comment what you think. Would you like to see a small overlay with me drawing like in older videos? If yes, I can still draw it and add that. What I redrew was the front-on perspective. And why did I redraw it? I wanted to update it mainly for the hair and eye shading, as well as the body proportions. In the initial version, the body looks way too flat and skinny to me now. Back when I drew it, I had a different perception of what I wanted the characters I drew to look like. And if you look at my older art, you will also notice that the characters I drew were generally a lot thinner and how I slowly transitioned a bit over time. This is partially because I learned more about anatomy, but also because now to me, the bodies I drew back then don't look visually appealing to me anymore. The characters I now draw are still rather thin, I'd say, but not as extreme as back then. To be completely honest, I also made changes to the older persona in the editing stage or the past few videos, where I simply masked out the body and scaled it in width, and it worked surprisingly well to me. Faces was also a bit too long to me and the line art a bit thin. You see that in the newer version I drew, it's pretty similar, especially looking at the hand poses and the outfit and what kinds of variations I have. And for the older persona I also had 3 outfits, and now I have only one, my favorite one out of 3 old ones, and it's a bit more close up in a waist up view rather than a leg up view. The colors are also pretty much the same since I like the old ones. I just changed the shading of the eyes and the hair a bit. I also drew newer mouths, but then I realized that I didn't like how they turned out, or rather I only drew like the upper teeth and it looked kind of rabbit-like to me. At first I wanted to just add the lower teeth to have the mouths look nice, but then I combined the persona with my older mouth drawings and I realized I really liked how this looked. So it made no sense to me to spend more time on changing up the mouths, and I just went with using the older ones. Now I'll move on to talking about how this persona is in general similar to me and resembles me. What me and the persona have in common is that we have brown hair and green eyes, although my eyes are not as green as for the persona and more grey. The hairstyle is the hairstyle I'd like to have. I have naturally wavy long hair, and most of the time it's also in a ponytail, but for the bangs I used to have them, but now I haven't cut them again since I don't feel like putting in the time for it. I have to say, in real life, while I like to wear aesthetically pleasing outfits, I'm also a big minimalist and focused on saving time, so I don't like to put in lots of time into dressing up or even something like makeup. For me it's unnecessarily time consuming, but I completely understand that for many others it makes them happy. I prefer dressing up the characters I draw and designing outfits for them over wearing something special myself. I also like to wear oversized, comfy and pastel-y clothes when I can, which is kind of resembled in the outfit. It also includes lots of pastel purple, which is my favorite color. And of course the anime-like proportions are completely different than in real life. Body type as well. It's more simplified and cute. In real life I have a rather basic body, I would say, and more on the thin side probably since I work out regularly. And I also didn't want the character to have any gender really. I identify as agender myself. And for the eyes or the expressions of the face, I wanted the character to have a calm and relaxed energy, since that's how I mostly am in real life, and this is also why the eyes are a bit more tilted downwards and not as wide open. The eyebrows also are pretty relaxed, I would say. And now I'll finally show how I use the persona for my videos. Okay, here we are in After Effects, the program I use for any video editing, and I have my persona here, and yeah, it's set up in a way I would use it for my videos. And I have the different folders here, so we have the different poses, and for these I have them like this so I can mirror the poses. And here this is the image I have just for the head, and here you can also see this is just the head. So if I move it now, I can't move this and so on, but yeah, I have the different folders, hands at the side and hands at the front and so on. And I have the poses masked like this, so I could replace this now and it would change up to this, and like this I animate the different poses. And for the expressions, I put the mouths with the eyes together. So here you can see, and I also named them differently depending on the mouths. So this is the closed mouth, the mouth, and the talking mouth. And yeah, I just have the different layers like this, and then for blinking just really short other layers. And that's it for this video, and I will show my new persona while talking now. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my own persona, and I was also thinking about doing something like a Meet the Artist trend. If you're interested in hearing more about this, you can leave a comment about it, or also about what kind of personas you really like, something more on the VTuber side, or what kinds of 2D sprites. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and have a great day. Goodbye.